His name was Ed. In my head, though, he was always my father-in-law. Out loud and to my wife, he was your dad. He wasn't emotional or overly touchy, and yet I never once doubted that he cared. He always took care of his family. My father-in-law, he handled the cost of my wedding. When he saw that my family needed a car, he went out and he bought one for us. When it broke down 3 months later, he swallowed the cost for that too. When a person visited his home, he fed them whether they were hungry or not. That is just the kind of guy that he was. If my father-in-law was with us still last year when I lost my job, I never would have had to sell my DVDs, my graphic novels. I never would have had to hit up the food bank. Nevertheless, I am surprised when he comes to me in a dream. We had issues, him and me, especially towards the end. He had said some things to and about me that hurt. My father-in-law, he does come to me, though. He tells me that he has something important to tell me. He hypnotizes me. He counts backwards. 10, 9, 8, 7. There's a feeling of release as he pulls me outside of my own body. We fly through the air, and my father-in-law, he holds me up by sheer willpower. He pulls me across the provinces, over the earth and through the clouds. When I am afraid, he speaks words of soft comfort. He tells me, don't look down. We land eventually in a desolate field. There's a sparse layer of snow on the ground, large patches of brown grass poking through. North, south, east, and west, this land is surrounded by an old barbed wire fence. In places, the planks have been broken and they hang askew. There's an ill-used road that leads up to an old abandoned homestead. My father-in-law and I, we begin our trek towards the road and then up to the house. We look up as one. The windows, they're boarded up, but the door has been broken in. Without entering, I can see its insides, not through some extra sensory perception, mind you, just simple common sense. Some family has taken what they could and left what they couldn't, an old bed, a couch, some clothes and toys, a washing machine. This family boarded the house up in hope of better days. The years they passed, the house is invaded and infested. A young man kicks in the door. He's looking for a place to get high with his friends, looking for a bed to lay his girl. A squirrel breaks into the attic and he builds his nest among photos and blankets long forgotten. A skunk saunters in the front door, and the bats, they were here all along. The front entrance kicked in allows the weather, rain and snow and wind. The wallpaper fades and peels as the walls rot. The floorboards grow soft as the vegetation grows through. The wraparound deck off to the side is more collapsed than not. The children, my father-in-law tells me, matter of fact, they don't come up here much, not anymore. No, I tell him, I don't imagine that they would. He tells me that a place like this, in the state that it's in, abandoned and lost, practically invisible from the main drag, that it would sell for next to nothing, peanuts even. The banks don't want to be landowners, he tells me. I'm doubtful, and you can see it too. I'm looking at the roof, counting the remaining shingles and calculating the lean on the chimney. My father-in-law, he tells me to forget the house and to think about the land. Think equity. Think about its size and its location, only so many miles from the city. Think about how only 10 years ago there was a 45-minute drive from Edmonton to St. Albert. Now you can barely tell where the one ends and the other begins. He tells me to forget the house, but buy the property. Pay whatever the bank asks. In this moment, he is more like his old self than ever before. This is how he was watching the Green Mile, excited and on the edge of his seat, shouting, "Cough it up, big boy! Cough it up!" as John Coffey attempts to sick up the poison that was Melinda's cancer. Cough it up, big boy. He doesn't think that the bank would be asking for more than 30 or 40,000. He knows it, in fact. He tells me to just hold on to the land. Don't live on it. Just pay the taxes and watch the city grow. 3 years on, and you'll be able to see the lights of the city at night from this very road. 2-lane highway, it will expand and it will get louder. By year 7 or 8, the developers will be coming around, scoping the area. But don't sell yet, my father-in-law warns. Year 10 is when this land becomes prime, 2022. Year 10 is when $30,000 or $40,000 transforms itself into $1.3 million. The snow around the property suddenly gleams a little brighter. The house even has a rustic charm to it that I hadn't noticed before. At some point, probably not that long ago, 15 years on the outside, this place had been someone's dream. A proud man, he raised his family here, playing and working in the fields. His children, they ran down this very road, the dog barking and chasing after them. The times grew hard, and this proud man, he was forced to move on, and his dream was lost. Lost, that is, until my father-in-law, he spied it from up in heaven. He thought to bring it to me, to his daughter, and to his grandchildren. He's smiling at me now because he's glad. He's seen the future, and now he has helped me to see it also. By sheer willpower, he picks me up once more, but the trip back is neither as quick nor as sure as the trip out. I can tell that he's getting tired, and I wonder what this little jaunt of his might actually be costing. I wonder to myself, if he loses his grip, what would become of me? I can feel my heart beating hard in my chest. It skips, and I grit my teeth. Suddenly cold, I close my eyes tight. Through the darkness, I can hear the voice of my father-in-law, distant in pain. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He reminds me to open my eyes, and I obey. My father-in-law, he tells me that his time is short, but he has something that he needs to say to me. And although I have a million questions running through my head, instinctively I know better. Listen, he tells me, I want to apologize for the things that I did to you and your family. I want to apologize for the things that I said when I was sick, and for the things that I put your family through. I know you know now that it wasn't really me, that it was the cancer. But I want to acknowledge how hard it must have been for you. Now that all that is past, I'm in a better and see things more clearly. I want you to know that I'm sorry. My father-in-law, he embraces me then in a way that in life he never did, as a son. Tell her that I love her. My father-in-law, he whispers this into my ear before he pulls away from me. There's no question as to who he's talking about. My wife was always his baby. There are tears running down his cheeks and mine. Tell her that I'm proud of her. Later, when I tell my wife about this last bit, there are tears in her eyes also. She says that it is so typical of him, her daddy. He was always one for grand gestures. He's walking away from me now, backwards at first. He turns, and then he is being lifted up into the heavens. Think of Jesus in the New Testament. Think of rapture. Ed, I call him, alone and afraid. Ed! I also have something that I wanted to tell him, but he's gone now, and I am suddenly awake. I roll over and pull my wife close to me. The dream tears, they are still hot on my cheeks. I whisper out to Ed in my own head, thank you, and I forgive you. My wife, she'll tell me that her dad used to always have dreams where he was blind. I never knew that. How's up? What's for sale?